Okay, let us look at the stiffness matrix at the element level a little bit more carefully. So, we are now going to look at the structure of K A B E and F A E, which actually arise from integration over the element level domains. So, let me draw the domain again and then specifically look at these quantities. So, this is the x axis between 0 and 1. So, this one is x1, this is x2, x3, and what I am going to do is maybe concentrate on, let us say, the node A, then I have the node A plus 1, the node A minus 1, and this, if you recollect, is the element E. This was element 1, this is element 2, and so on. This is element E minus 1, this is element E plus 1, and I can of course talk about the last element, which is element N. Okay. So, we are looking at element number E, which means this element over here. And let me draw for you the shape functions. So, the typical shape function at this node is going to look like this. This is an A of x. Let me also draw n at A plus 1. This quantity here is n A plus 1 x. Okay. I am now supposed to evaluate this integral K A B E, which is actually an integral over omega E. So, only at this, within this domain. Please recall that K A B E is given as A of N A N B evaluated at element E, which in fact is over the domain omega E, N A comma x and B comma x dx. Okay. Now, let us talk about Na. So, Na has a local support and the only non-zero values are this hat, it is 0 elsewhere. Similarly, if I look at Na plus 1, it has this local support and all the values prior to A and after A plus 2 are 0. If I am integrating within this domain, then the only terms that would survive are between A and A plus 1, all other terms would be 0. So, I can now write down the structure of K and it would look something like this. So, the matrix K would look something like this. So, this is the rows and the columns. So, each row corresponds to a certain value of A. So, the first row would be A equal to 1, A equal to 2 and so on. I am at element E. So, at element E, the participating nodes are A and A plus 1. So, let me therefore look at these two rows. So, this is row A and this is row A plus 1. Similarly, I will look at the two columns. One of the columns is column A and the other is A plus 1. And simply from the structure of Na comma x and Nb comma x, because I am integrating over simply this domain, all the shape functions, so all Nas and all Nbs are 0 except when A and B are the values A and A plus 1. So, only these are the non-zero values, all other values are zeros. Similarly, I can talk about my F matrix for the element E, and these would have only two non-zero values which corresponds to the rows A and A plus 1. So, these are non-zero, all others are 0. I hope you are able to understand the argument that because we are integrating only in this domain omega e, which is node A to A plus 1, there are only two shape functions that are non-zero here, and those shape functions are Na and Na plus 1. So, when I look at this integral, there are only two values of A's and two values of B's which would be surviving, okay? And I am in element E, so they correspond to A and B both equal to A and A plus 1, and that is what has been done here. So, the question naturally arises that if I am going to write K as summation Ke, where A goes from 1 through NEL and F goes from E to Fe, and most of these entries are going to be 0. So, one idea is that store only the 2 by 2 non-zero Ke and 2 cross 1 non-zero Fe. There is no point for each element to store these large 0 values or to store these large 0 values in F. Let us store only these 2 by 2 and 2 cross 1 entries over here. And to denote these non-zero, we are now going to call them as small a. So, we will define the element level stiffness matrix and force vector as Ke and Fe, which are the non-zero values. So, Ke has the elements Kab E, which is actually a 2 by 2 matrix, and similarly the Fe is defined as Fea, which is a 2 cross 1 value. Kab is going to be given as A of Na NBE, and F AE we will write it as integral over Na F dx over omega E plus the contributions from the H type boundary condition and the G type boundary condition, and notice those would come either for the first element or the last element. So, we will say as far as the H type contribution is concerned, that is if we have the first local node of the first element, so that will contribute only if we have the first element, and for the last element we would have minus Ka2 times G if E is equal to NEL, the last element. Otherwise, we have no contribution. So, the boundary contribution comes only for the boundary elements. So, you can work out these details. And this integral we already know, this is over omega E n a comma x and b comma x dx. Now, this is very interesting. So, what we have been able to do is the following. We set out to form Kd equal to F, okay, and then we said K actually can be written as summation of Ke and F can be written as summation of Fe, which has to be evaluated at each of these elements. So, as an example, let us take the element E. When I evaluate the contribution of K only for element E, the only non-zero values are these 2 by 2 matrix and this 2 by 1 vector. and I do not have to store the rest of it. So, I compute only these values, which in fact are also symmetric. So, in fact, I do not have to store these 4 values, I can get away by storing only the 3 values, because these 2 values are going to be identical. Okay. The complication is that if I store only these 4 values, I have to keep in mind a way how to put these 4 values at the right place in the big K matrix, and how to put these 2 values in the at the right place in the big F vector. So, that is some kind of a database that I have to carry and do some bookkeeping. So, we will just highlight this by observing the following, that Ke and Fe are defined with respect to the local ordering while K, E and Fe with respect to global ordering. As you will appreciate, small k and small f are based on the local element numbers. So, each element has only 2 node numbers, a left node and a right node. So, their subscripts a and b go from 1 through 2. On the other hand, k and f are global matrices, and they are defined on the global node numbers which go from 1 through n plus 1. Okay. So, that bookkeeping we need to keep track of. So, for this we need to kind of introduce a new data structure. So, need to introduce new data structure for the bookkeeping. So, we will introduce what is called an assembly procedure. And for this we need to define a few arrays. So, the first array that we want to define is called the LM array. It is also known as the location matrix array. So, the idea is that if I take LM as a 2-dimensional array which has the form NEN times NEL. So, this first index goes from 1 to NEN, the second one goes from 1 to NEL. This one is the local node number of an element, and this one here is the element number. So, the idea is that if I am inside an element, let us say E, it has 2 local nodes, local node 1 and local node 2, and NEN is the number of local nodes in an element. This actually is 2 in our case, because we have chosen a linear finite element space. If we choose, let us say, a piecewise quadratic finite element space, possibly NEN can be 3. Okay, we will look into those cases later on, but for the time being let's stay with the linear space. So, NEN is 2. So, what this matrix will, or what this array will tell us is that for a given element E, when I talk about the local node numbers, then which are the equation numbers that this LM array is pointing to. So, this will actually give us the correspond to P, which is the global equation number. So, an example would be that LM of A comma E could be, for example, P, which is the equation number. This is the local node number, and this is the element number. And you can see that P is actually going to be given as typically E if A is equal to 1, and this is E plus 1 if A is 2. Let us take an example and let me show you that. So, this is, we are just going to do it for the mesh that we have. So, this is the first node. So, I am going to write down the node numbers here, second node, third node. Likewise, this is node number A minus 1, A plus 1, sorry, A plus 1, maybe A plus 2. Let me give this a break. So, this would be local node number n, and the final is n plus 1. Maybe I also talk about the element numbers. So, these are node numbers, and here on the top I will write down the element numbers, and these I will circle. So, this is element number 1, element number 2, this is, you can see, A to A plus 1. I can call this element number A or simply E. This is E minus 1, this is E plus 1, and the last one is element number n. Let me also write down for you the boundary conditions. If you recall, the boundary conditions were that u at x equal to 1 was G. So, this node has a Dirichlet boundary condition, which means there is no equation number at this node. So, let me write down the equation numbers. This node 1 I can assign an equation number 1, node 2 I can assign an equation number 2, node 3 I can assign equation number 3, and in fact I can just copy the node numbers as equation numbers except the last one where there is no equation number, and I will put 0. No equation for this node. And now you can understand this formula that I have written. So, what is being said is that if I am in element number E, this is the element number E, and for this element, this is local node 1, A equal to 1, this is local node A equal to 2. And what are the equation numbers? Well, the equation numbers are exactly the same as node numbers. So, this would be node number A, which I can also call as E, and this is node number A plus 1, which I can also call E plus 1 by the element number. So, that is the reason this has been given as, the LM array has been given this form. So, I can now write down explicitly the LM array as the following. So, this is the LM array, and I will write down the local node numbers. So, this is A equal to 1, this is A equal to 2, and over here I will write down the various element numbers. So, this is E equal to 1, E equal to 2, E equal to 3, maybe this is element E, and finally I have element N. So, the location matrix for the first element, as you can see, for the first element I have the first node belongs to equation 1, the second node belongs to equation 2. So, I would get these values here 1, 2. For the second element, the first node of element number 2 belongs to equation number 2, and the second node belongs to equation number 3. So, I would get these entries 2, 3, and likewise this would be 3, 4, this would be E, E plus 1, and so on. If I look at the last element, which is element number N, the first node of this element has the equation number N. So, I will put an N here, and the last one, in fact I would put 0 here, because there is no equation number for the last node, the value is known. Okay, we will stop here in this session, and in the next session we are going to see that given the local 2 by 2 stiffness matrix for the element and the force vector and this LM array, how we can assemble them to get the global the global stiffness matrix and global force vector and get our solution. Thank you.